Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our second episode of the Connective podcast. Today, I'm speaking to my teacher, Lou Benson. And Lou Benson is one of the early educators in the Anatomy Trains structure integration lineage. Lou studied with Tom Myers from the mid-90s and certified first in KMI, which was the previous name of Anatomy Trains, structure integration training, and later served as an education director and lead instructor for the Anatomy Trains structure integration training program. And she traveled the world. She has taught many, many students and has gifted us with her beautiful way of teaching with a lot of joy and mindfulness and a lot of creativity. Her work spans from structure integration, body reading, to anatomy and kinesiology, and I'll say fascial anatomy too, because sometimes people forget that's often the passion from structure integrators, and Ashton patterning and decades of clinical teaching and working in her clinical setting. And currently you are in Atlanta in the US. So welcome, Lou. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Alexa. It's really nice to see you and to be here, and thank you for the invite. Much appreciated.
I feel it's such a beautiful moment to hear your voice again. We spent an intense time together, not just me training, but also being a teacher in training for Anatomy Trains, buying coffees, falling steps upwards, throwing coffees through the staircase. We had a lot of laughter moments, and I appreciate this time we had. You have had your hands on people for a long time, for decades. What do you understand about the body now that you couldn't have understood at the start?
Oh, wow, so much. I think it was sort of one of the first questions I had as a body worker was, how is this thing held together? How does this work? How do we not just like fall into a puddle on the floor? And so that got me really interested in the connective tissue and in fascia and also in just the body systems, the integration of the body systems, and how just stunningly miraculous it is that all the systems are in communication with each other all the time. And fascia may be the information superhighway to, borrow something I've heard a million times from Tom Myers, but I don't know. I couldn't have known how deep that would be for me in my life, personally and professionally. It's really, especially for me, getting older and sort of calming down some in my life. It's been really an added gift to just be with that and to be in the world with that and just hold on to that, especially, as the world kind of tumbles through its chaos right now. It's been really a gift.
And going right back, what was it that first drew you to working with people's body, especially with a fascial focus? And what were you looking for? I may remember you did weightlifting. You came from a movement background.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been sporty. But I think really what started me into this was my own back pain. And I had work that I liked. I worked in a legal setting, sort of as a legal assistant for years. And I really liked that. I like writing. I like studying. I like, going into the old records and digging around. So that was good. But my back started to really hurt me. And one of the lawyers I worked for, his best friend was a co-owner of a massage school. And he was like, well, go get some body work. And I did. And it was like, oh, after a few sessions, I was like, this is probably it. This just fills in all the, just ticks all the boxes of, it was challenging intellectually. It was challenging physically. I like working with my hands. It just fit. So I would say my pain brought me to it.
I might remember also, is it, have you done any kind, or maybe I'm just making this up because you have moved through the classroom always so calmly with a calm presence. And have you been a meditator? Have you been meditating or done some kind of, or do you have a practice?
I've sort of dabbled in a couple of different things. I've read a lot. Mostly it's just a way of being mindful in the world that has just become more and more a dominant feature in my life as the years have gone by. So there's a level of meditation in almost everything for me. Yeah, but especially in the work. The work is really a deep place, as you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And your mindfulness, I think it stood out in the classroom and the way how you worked with people. And for me, I always, when I started doing the manual therapy coming from a yoga background, I said to people to describe what I am gaining from this. For me, it was a meditation practice. It was mindfulness in action, mindfulness with my hands. And it's you need to be quiet and to read with your hands and to perceive. And it's for someone also who reads a lot, sits on the computer, is a very brainy person. For me, using my hands all of a sudden, it felt like a completing puzzle piece. And so you did a massage training?
Yeah, started in massage school in 1989.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how did you get to anatomy trains? How were you introduced to anatomy trains?
Yeah. Well, the other owner of the massage school where I went and then started teaching, I was an assistant teacher there for a number of years and then started teaching. They were like, no, you're going to teach now. I was like, I am.
Amazing.
Okay. But,
sounds familiar.
Yeah. But Tom had just moved back to Maine from, out west. And, the woman that was co-owner of the school, somehow she got onto a class with him. And then she said to me, and another teacher, we're going up there. And, this guy's really smart. And so we went up there and then she asked him if she handpicked 12 students, would he come and teach us structural integration? And he said he would. So that's how the first KMI class got going. I knew that, I like things to be very grounded and tangible. And it seemed to me like the structural integration schools, mostly the Rolfers back then, and still really, they were asking all the right questions in my mind, or many of the right questions. And I liked organizing the work in that way for myself. And so that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Then I just followed Tom around.
You just followed him and he let you follow him around.
Yeah. I mean, the book wasn't out yet. Nothing was, we were just trying to put a class together, So those were good times. I mean, lots of good times, but the beginning it was fun.
I bet. And just for the moment, let's go back a step to when you were asked to teach anatomy. So you were a student of a massage school. You were invited to teach at the school because the teachers recognized your passion for anatomy, maybe through your questioning. How was it for you when you first got out and taught your first anatomy lesson or your first massage lesson explaining anatomy? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I mean, well, I taught a basic sort of Swedish massage technique class first. And I was just kind of studying anatomy on my own. And it just really interested me. And I also felt like it was like a responsibility to try to understand what I had my hands on and how the body worked. And so the anatomy teacher at the school where I went, where I was teaching Swedish technique, quit. And the owner of the school said to me, I think we were out having a drink and I sort of shot my mouth off and said, someday I really like to teach that. And he said, great, buckle up. You're teaching it in the fall.
Amazing. Wow.
So I spent the summer with anatomy books spread out around me and, trying to create a class. from the, the basis of what the other teacher had done, which wasn't my style at all. So I wound up rewriting the whole thing.
Wow.
So
yeah,
God help
wow.
me and those people. That was scary, actually, but I also loved it. And I loved it just this much more than it was scary.
Yeah, I know this feeling. So you created already your own little mini curriculum within a class, coming from no teaching background, being asked to create a learning experience for students learning Swedish massage, and you wanted to explain the anatomy, the why, and the what behind it. And then that is so incredible. And I think often for people, they learn the anatomy and then they stop. And they have it in the concepts, the images in their head, but they have troubles to express it. They don't have the words for it. And I like to compare anatomy learning, that was my experience, to learning a language. I speak several languages. I grew up with learning different languages. I had to study vocabulary. And for me, learning anatomy was really a moment of sitting down, writing down the maps like a country and learning the language and immersing myself in it. And I feel sometimes people miss the point that you really have to study to be able to speak the language of anatomy. And they just label it to, I'm not good at anatomy. It's not my gift. But I feel almost everybody could learn anatomy.
Yeah, and a lot of people who are really scared and resistant at first are kind of stunned by the end of the course. They're like, I did it. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't had very many students that we haven't been able to find a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, and that's what interests me as a teacher too, is, how do you communicate? How do you speak to it? Because each person speaks their own language too, in a way. So how do you learn to get that across and start having a dialogue that means something? And it's more of a back and forth than here's the information just coming at you. There's got to be that kind of engagement. And it's one of the things I love the best in life and in teaching.
Yeah, it's true. And I remember you always, or Julie, standing next to me, and you allowed us to make mistakes, to see things. You were just questioning us. You never told us. You always just guided us, or our eyes and our brains, to an understanding, which I found so helpful, as instead of saying, this is how it is, and now remember this, please.
Yeah, there's very little that falls into that category. I mean, the facts are the facts. This is going to be my arm. No matter what else we might say about it, it's still, But, beyond that. And also it's not people don't learn well mostly by rote memorization. It's not really how it happens. And it's certainly not how a body of work comes alive.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's by applications, by speaking it. For sure. And everybody has their own learning style. As for me, I immersed myself. I looked at the words and the maps, and then I taught it. And I think the teaching moment was where it really embedded into my system, when I had to express it and explain it and reason it in front of other people.
But yeah, there's nothing like that to get you to drill down.
Yeah. And how did you find your own voice? I remember I was at the beginning, when I was teaching, very drawn to obviously the explanations I read in the books, in Tom's book, the way how he explained it, the way you and Julie explained anatomy. I often was leaning onto that until I got my practice. But how was that for you? How did you find your own voice in the work? Because you have a very distinct and very unique way of teaching.
Well, we'll have to talk more about that. But in the meantime, I think we're always patterning on the people, especially the people that we look up to. And so early on, one of the teachers who was important to me, of course, was Tom. And, really in the beginning, I got his coffee, and made sure we were using those acetate things on an overhead projector back then. It was like keeping that sort of stuff in order. And more he just kind of push things slowly over onto me. But I can remember trying to think in his voice, and it just was terrifying. I was like, no one can be Tom Myers except Tom Myers. And I had already been teaching some, and I had somebody who was sort of very soft and grounded as my first teaching teacher. And so I think, I think she had a really, really big influence on me. Yeah, I don't remember really trying to copy her style. But she just kind of made a place for me to find my own voice, and that just became stronger. But I definitely remember trying to think, like, how am I going to teach this Myers stuff? This is really hard. Nobody could be him. I mean, he was, like, has all this sort of classical education he's always weaving into everything. And I was like, oh man. So I got it pretty early that, it's that old saying, you have to be yourself because everyone else is taken. Yeah. Well, that was definitely taken.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. I remember what made your instruction. So for the viewers or listeners, if you haven't been in a massage or bodywork classroom where people learn to body read and learn techniques, it's often that the teacher demonstrates on a body part and uses their hands and explains what they're doing. And I always remember how entertaining it was for me to watch and listen to you, because you came always up with you have the best imagery, the best, you always brought a little bit of humor in it. You used words that came unexpected. They were kind of making everything a little bit more fun, less serious, and my whole system could relax and actually absorb more because of that. And, I do not know what I've taken from you, but I do know one certain thing is when I am teaching anatomy or manual therapy, or there is a certain lightness and humor and less seriousness to it because of you. That's for sure.
Well, that's awesome. I'm happy to have that be, something that reaches out into the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's teaching is a little bit of stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
So, you have to have a little bit of that, even though the work is serious. We're serious about it too, but making a place or learning environment where people feel like they can breathe, like there's not a lot of pressure. I think the less pressure you have, the more you learn and the more you're drawn into the learning. So that's become more and more clear to me and more important to me as I've as I've bumbled my way along, learning about teaching all these years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think especially anatomy can be quite scary. I remember I thought I knew anatomy, and I stepped into a anatomy trained structure integration classroom, and I was so impressed by the vocabulary that was used, the depth of anatomy, that I felt really small. And yet I came back because I felt safe. How do you, I remember, I can't even remember which bone it was, but you compared it to a race car. And I always thought, like, a race car.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So that would be the way the talus sits on the calcaneus.
Yes, correct.
It's like a bucket seat. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always thought, how does Lou come to these ideas? Does she sit at home, looks at it, and just tries to come up with analogies, or what? How does your anatomy learning look like? For myself, I need to look at my anatomy almost daily, even if it's just looking at a picture or an article to keep it fresh. Otherwise it would be blurry in a way. How does that look for you? And yeah, how do you come up with these analogies?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like you, I look at things a lot. I mean, I have my friends around. This is my workspace in my home, and there's a bucket seat now. But I don't know. How do you say how your mind works, or what it works toward, but it's just how my mind works. But I look at it a lot. And, when you look at something a lot, you're thinking about it a lot. And then you're out in the world and, other things come to you and we're patterners. We match things.
Yeah.
So how my brain, maybe sometimes, something and I like having a lot of different, I guess, metaphors for things because you never know what's going to click for someone. As a teacher, I think it's really fun and important to be able to, lob something out there and you see someone either take it or go, huh? And then you have to be like, oh, but what if you think about, well, forget I said that. Think about it like this, and until you get the click.
Yeah. So would you say you're learning anatomy with the student in mind? You're looking at anatomy with your teaching in mind, with your students in mind?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as I didn't at first because I didn't think it was, I wasn't really going to teach that, but, but, then it was like, well, why not? Why not? And I think, massage school, you get an opportunity to do something or even, any bodywork school. I didn't have a degree in anything, but I had the will to learn and the will to share. And there's a lot you can see just by looking, as Yogi Berra said.
Yeah.
So, but I think about it a lot in terms of teaching now. And to me, it's a really fun perspective. It's like, how do you see it from other perspectives and students who, are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, all of that, but just, just trying to bring it in all kinds of different ways.
And we can see that oftentimes it's the keenest and the most passionate student that becomes the best teacher because you understand how learning works, and that obviously translates then into your teaching because of that awareness. So for someone right at the beginning of learning to read a body or to work with a living body, what do you wish you could give them from day one, or what have you given them from day one maybe? And what can only come with time?
Well, I was thinking about this since you sent me a little rough outline of some possible questions. I thought, I think they're the same thing. It's really about how to be more caring about yourself. Because so many times people who are drawn to body work, they're like focused on the client, and that's wonderful, but they forget about themselves. It's like one of the things that Judith Aston impressed on me as her student so much, and I think most of her students would agree, is that, your body mechanics are just critical to the work, to your health and longevity in the work, but also to your ability to accurately palpate and, feel what's happening in the tissue, feel tissue response. So, having that sense of you're thinking about what's happening with the client, but you're also reflecting back through your own body. What, where am I? And, I want to relate to the person's body with my whole body, not just with my hands. So I've said many times, I want to put in my client's body, I want to be putting into my client's body what I have in my body. So I need to, calm it down. That's been really good for me, and be more present. So that sense of taking good care of yourself would be the thing that I would hope for on day one, and that I would hope would keep, pushing out into someone's experience.
And what do you think comes only with time when you're learning, reading a body?
Everything's get deeper, but I think, your ability to, and I think of this like, if I've got a plate spinning in my brain, like how many plates can I get spinning in my brain? There's the anatomy plate. There's the, what depth of layer am I in? Do I want to be talking to the bones, to the, where am I in the body? What system am I targeting? How do I feel that? It's like a kaleidoscopic sort of experience for me of, how do you keep deepening how much you can hold? And so yeah, you've got all these different, kaleidoscopic images clicking through this quiet landscape.
I was together with a group of friends yesterday. One is a movement teacher, fascia focused, one is an osteopath, and we sit together for dinner. And I was saying I am a baby in structure integration and realized, and I said, I've only done this for 10 years now. And they were looking at me and they said, other people would never say you're a baby when you've done this for 10 years. But you now explaining what you just explained, I was thinking, wow, I want to get there. I want to have this experience, and I'm not even near there. I can relate to a lot of things you just said with my body alignment while I'm doing the manuotherapy and work with the body. Also when I'm teaching and giving tactile cues, and being aware of many systems at the same time beyond I see the energy of the person, the resilience. I see the moment in time where maybe it's time to slow down and finish the session. I see the tissue work. I feel it, but you are going a level wider, deeper. That's can only come with time.
Well, and I think that's how it is when you love what you do. It just keeps going out, and what it's amazing.
Yeah, true gift. So, how do you decide what to give your attention to when you learn about the fascial body and what to let go of? So, and I'm not just thinking of the fascial body, I think of fascial anatomy, about fascial science, because it's a very young, progressive field that constantly changes. So how do you stay focused in one area, not get thrown in too many spaces and directions?
Well, for me personally, I think in the beginning I was like, I want to know everything. And, I was just dabbling this and that and this and that and, craniosacral work and all this other, all kinds of, whatever was out there. I was just like taking workshops constantly. And I think, the things that really kept hooked for me were the things I stuck with, and the other things fell away. And like, I'm happy to be able to refer to people who resonate more deeply with aspects of the work that I don't resonate with that much. I dig it, but it's not my work. So I think that just came with time too. It's like, oh, well, after the first 5 years of being like crazy for continuing ed, it was like, no, this is really, I'm going to follow this path for a while and dig deeper over here. And that it became clearer over time of like, and I would still, dabble here and there. It's like, well, what's that about? Or what's that about? And, it was like, is that me, not me, not me? It's like, there was a lot of not me that fell to the side. It was like, okay, but I'm glad I appreciate what that is.
Yeah.
But you have to choose, just like in a session, you have to pick what you're going to do and what you're going to let ride, at least for now.
Yes.
And then, But for me, it was a matter of what clicked for me.
Yes. And it was certainly the fascial, the structure integration work of working. And now these days in social media, I know you're not a big social media person. And I was speaking with Julie yesterday about how there is a lot of hype around fascia, and there's also some clickbaity stuff, thousands of people liking and sharing certain posts where you step back as someone who takes this work very seriously and is careful with how to say certain things. You sometimes think, wow, how can this become so popular and so easily digested by people without stepping back and thinking, I don't know if this is correct. And fascia is also critiqued by, for example, physiotherapists that are research-based. You can hear criticism about fascia is a hype and it's not true, and you can explain it in a muscular skeletal way or in a nervous system way. Why are we making such a hype around fascia? How do you, or have you dealt, or do you deal with criticism of the work?
Well, I avoid social media,
Yeah.
I just missed a boat on that. How do I deal with criticism of the work? Is that where we're going with that. I try to sort out, look for the people that I respect and am drawn to and look at the science and, go from there. And then the rest of it's just noise. It doesn't feel good to me. It's like that whole level of arguing, whether you're right or wrong, who cares? It's winning the argument. It's like, no, I'm not interested. I'm too old.
Yeah,
I don't have time for that.
I think this is the wisdom we all need in a time of today where we get pulled into different directions, not just talking about fascial science or fascia, if it works or not, if it exists or not, but also about politics or whatnot. It's like, I do not have time for this. Let me just look at the evidence that is presented to me in my hands, in my clinic, and on paper through research. I guess that's, we can stay grounded in our work. Have you been ever criticized personally in the classroom as a teacher?
And of course.
How did you deal with that?
I think I like to think I dealt with it elegantly and with gracious style. That's how I like to think of it. But I have had some criticism that has really helped me as a practitioner and as a teacher. As a practitioner, I've only gotten really honest feedback from other practitioners, which has been great. I can remember the first thing, a woman who I was trading with, we were teaching together and trading bodywork with, and she was like, you find the spot right away, but then you move off of it too fast. Like, it's really getting annoying. And she just like looked at me like that from over her shoulder on the table, and I was like, okay. That changed my work a lot.
Yeah.
That was pretty early on. I would only been practicing for a couple of years. It was like, wow, I got it, but I still remember it.
Yeah.
So that still comes right to mind. It was like, yep, that has really been important. And other times there have just been students who are just freaking out. They're just freaking out. They're having a bad moment. And I just try really hard not to get on the hook and to just stay neutral and, like say, well, let's talk about that on the break or after class or, moving on.
Yes.
But I take it seriously, and it's, whether it's something that's valid. I mean, we ask for in course evaluations, we ask for always, what do you need that's different from what was in this class, and how can we make it better? And it's a serious thing. And, people who, are, even if it's only one person who's got a criticism, if it's valid and everyone else in the class is pretty happy with how the content was presented, I still read every one of those evaluations and take it, take it to heart.
Yes.
Like this is, somebody took the trouble to write down something that had some conflict in it, potentially. And even if it's an anonymous thing, it doesn't matter. It's still, it charges up your nervous system to get into that. And that's not free. That's an investment. And so, that's how I take it. And,
shows again that you're embodying a true learner and true teacher, someone who's seeking feedback. And also, I love hearing that working with colleagues may be a really good way to get honest feedback if you build a relationship where you can give each other feedback and learn from each other, because it really takes your work to another level instead of you simmering in your own room. And I know from high school teaching in the classroom, I know it from movement teaching, people like to keep their classroom door closed and hope that nobody walks in and sees them teaching. That's where the teacher often feels safest. And having someone who is mentoring you or watches your classes and gives you feedback can be the best thing ever. And I remember as a high school teacher, our principal in one school usually walked in without warning, and he never made us feel threatened, or he gave us really, as you did, and Julie always gave us really great feedback, and rather in a conversation and questioning, rather than telling us this went wrong, but rather asking, what do you think, how does it work for you? How does this went for you, this teaching? So yeah, I love this. Good reminder to seek out safe places to get feedback from and not stagnate.
Yeah. And I mean, in every class, I try to really encourage the students to use each other. It's like, you're not going to get feedback from clients. They don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to get it from other practitioners. So, be nice about it, but give each other the real deal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not bad.
And I'm German, so I'm all about just tell me the truth. Don't be nice to me. Just say what you think. I want to hear.
Yeah.
I'll do it too. I tell you. In a nice way.
Yeah.
Because what I heard the other day, being direct is kindness. Saying something nice is not necessarily kind. You may something nice and you're not honest. I think honesty is a way of great kindness.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
You have now stepped back from teaching for anatomy trains. And what has that been like to step away from something that you gave so much of yourself to?
Oh, wow. It was a really big decision. And I just needed to do it for me. And, being on the road 3 or 4 months of the year and just carrying the curriculum through 2-3 week stretches, 2 or 3 week stretches, I just realized that I wasn't having the energy for it. And my energy was being pulled more toward home, more toward a quiet way of being. And, but it was a really tough decision. I just loved it for so long. And, I had so much fun, with so many great people. And, you get to keep the great people. They're not gone, but you don't get to have that same experience. So, it's been okay, but no, it was a loss for sure.
Yeah.
And there are definitely times when I miss it.
Yeah, I bet. And what does your work look like now? Are you still teaching? That's right.
Yeah, a little bit. Just kind of like a couple of weekend things in a year. Where I live, I happen to have a classroom space that's big enough for like a dozen students, and it's been really nice to be able to have small classes and do some co-teaching and even like some assisting. Meredith Stevens, who is a physical therapist who I've known for a long time through anatomy trains. She and I have been doing some teaching together, and it's been more her taking the lead on that, which has been really great. I also gone through a couple or 3 years of drama around a leg injury that, it was. It's been really necessary for me to not work as much as hard. I would rather work less and stay in the game longer than burn out. And I realized that, in leaving anatomy trains, it was like I'm starting to feel the burn. It's time. So my work now, I see a couple of clients a day in my home office and, put together some small classes. Looks like I was talking to Julie, and looks like we probably figured out a way for me to come over there and do some things next year in the summer school.
That'd be so lovely to see you in Australia. I was just thinking, I wish, you could bodywork could be taught online, but it is not a place for online teaching. I had a good conversation with Julie about it yesterday. What the things that would be missing when you're teaching through a screen. We benefited from it during COVID, but I think bodywork still needs to be hands-on and together with the student. Having said that, students these days, everybody can get information online. You can get anatomy information online, the Anatomy Trains Map, fascial connections, the Fascial Research Society has their papers, if you're a member, and workshops. Do you think that learning this working with a fascial body manually or even through movement, learning this work better than you and my generation did, or losing something that can't get that fast? So
I think it's great as long as you don't drown in it. You just have to sip,
Yeah.
go away,
Yeah.
come back, sip, go away, come back. But having all of that information at your fingertips I think is fabulous. And then, having a critical approach to it, like you just have to really, and I think, having the legal background, it's like when you do legal research, you are drilling down on keywords until you get to a place where there's a larger body of agreement. And it also, it makes sense. So I think, that's available. And if you're, as long as you don't get lost in it, which, I mean, we all do it. We all get a nose full of water now and then, but, hopefully, we pull ourselves out of that and go, okay, wait a minute. I mean, and we talk to each other. So there's also, you start to get this great network of colleagues that, it's like, what do you think of that? And what do you think of that? And let's talk about that. So, and online is a great place for that, for forums like that, where you're just talking about the different things that are being researched and coming up. And, there's a lot of stuff that's cutting edge, that's fabulous. And a lot of that stuff falls to the floor. And and then, there are things that rise. It's like, well, 10 years ago, that was crackpot. And now it's like not so crackpot after all. So keeping an open mind and a critical mind, I think, lets you really enjoy. Well, for me, I feel like it lets me enjoy being like, oh, wow, I can just really, I don't have to go buy the book. I mean, I still, I've got
buy the books.
I have rather a large library, and I love it. I love it being able, but that's what I grew up in. That was my world. And, that's good. And, it's nice to not have a lot of noise. So I use both. I get my books out and spread a few around me, and it's like, okay, what does this author say? And this one and this one. Okay. And how do they relate? And then I go online, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to be on here for who knows how long. And then I'll, and then, go back. So, I think it's great.
So you're integrating it. I love this. And I think, having a background from learning analog with pen and paper and having books, and integrating then the online work and moving, as you said, back to your books and then making your own out of it. I think that's the way to go. And critical thinking, for sure, is what we all need. So, working with Fascia now for a long time, this is now a question I ask everyone. What has Fascia helped you connect that once felt separate?
The whole body, the whole way. I mean, we're so. I mean, this whole thing of everything has its bright side and its shadow side. So this idea of sort of patterning or compartmentalizing information, everybody wants there to be a thing that's wrong. And in fascial work, there's hardly ever a thing. I would say, actually, this is one of the few times I would use the word never. There's never a thing wrong. It's like, that's a beautiful myth, but it doesn't happen like that. And, to be able to see, well, this may be primary right now, but it's connected to all of this. And the whole body has to be back into that whole thing about the system's kaleidoscope. Everybody's talking to everybody else all the time. Like, wow. So fascia, the idea of the connective tissue itself it's a great metaphor. It's a great model for exactly that. Everything has to be in communication all the time. And it's wonderful to drop back and be able to be in that experience and just be like, oh, my conscious mind is like, the lowly half sister of this wizard that's like running the show. It's like, how does that happen? So, that's just, I'm going to let that be a matter of faith, and be glad that a faith in mystery, and be grateful for that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I have one more question for you that I haven't prepared you for. What is one question you think this field needs to keep asking? The field of fascia, fascia bodywork.
Oh, I have to pick one, huh?
Yeah.
I think, how do we stay open and communicate with the people that we work with best? How do we keep exploring, keep open to what this whole body is? I mean, I can remember when Gamberto came to the first fascial conference in Boston and showed the video Strolling Under the Skin.
Mm-hmm.
People were on their feet, just clapping and yelling. It was just like, wow. It's like, we need to just keep going with the wows, because they're there to be had.
Yeah. That is, we have to keep going with the wows for sure. Lou,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. This was such an enriching, such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for bringing your stories, your teaching wisdom, your being a student wisdom, and everything into this conversation. And I hope everybody gets now also more curious about working with more wow and to bring that into their work. Now, Lou, where can people find you? What are your upcoming projects?
Yeah, well, I mean, I live and practice in Atlanta. I'm running some small courses here. I've got a website I started in 2008 with some colleagues in Boston when I was living there, called the Bodywork Education Project. And, it's a tiny little website, but it's still going. And, my colleagues, we just use it as an easy hub to put some classes out there with each other. And, so people can find me, at, just Google me, and I'm not hard to get a hold of.
Great. I will also share this information in the show notes and the links with everybody so they can find you. Thank you, Lou. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you for our next conversation in Connective. Thanks, Lou. Bye.